This is a sports catastrophe production. Hey there, how there, ho there. It's Jeff Code. I welcome you to another sports catastrophe on this day. And on this day of December the 4th, in 1909, the world's longest continuous NHL franchise was born. The Club de Hockey Canadiens. So Montreal had a long run of hockey history. Heck, the first Stanley Cup went to a Montreal team, the Montreal Amateur Association, or Montreal AAA, if you will. Anyway, after the Canadian Hockey Association turned down Ambrose O'Brien's Renfrew application for membership in the CHA in November 1909, O'Brien, alongside another jilted person who failed to get into the CHA, which was Jimmy Garner of the Montreal Wanderers, organized the new National Hockey Association. The Wanderers desired a competitor team in Montreal, and Garner set a team of francophone players for O'Brien to play on the rivalry between francophones and anglophones in Montreal, and it was called Les Canadiens. The new team was founded at the National Hockey Association's meeting December 4th, 1909. O'Brien put up $5,000 security for the new franchise. $5,000 to a lot of people, even in 2021, is huge. But of course, for a hockey team, it's like, I don't know what it would be equivalent to. But anyway, it will be transferred to Montreal French sportsmen as soon as practicable. Jacques Lafayette was hired to organize a team called Le Club du Hockey Le Canadien. And Lafayette was given free rein by the NHA owners to sign all francophone players. His first signing was Dieter Pietra, who was a pretty good speedster and all that. Signed at $1,100. So Pietra, but then after learning, he was tricked by the CHA's Montreal National by signing the contract. Pietra signed with the Canadiens for $1,700. Legal action was initiated, but thankfully Pietra stayed on for the Habs. Nuzi Lalonde was signed on December 14th. When the CHA folded, the franchise was offered by O'Brien to Le National, but they declined to purchase the franchise. The Nationals turned down the offer, not willing to take on the contract to play at the Jubilee rink, the cost of the player contracts, and the debts. So the National had to fold their team. Les Canadiens suffered. They were 2-10, just pathetic. The Montreal Wanderers, the worst part, was that they won the NHA. All that. They actually did beat Cobalt January 5th, 1910, but it was modified because the NHA absorbed the CHA teams and created a new schedule. So Cobalt beat the Habs. And Montreal's only official win was, their first official win was against Haileybury. And then they would also take out the Shamrocks in overtime. The roster was not really your who's who, all that. You had Joseph Kaderinch in net. Kaderinch would actually be instrumental years later when Montreal almost got sold to Cleveland. I kid you not. It happened. It really happened. Manor players were Arthur Bernier, Dieter Petra, Richard Jacquet, Nuzi Lalonde, Paulo Rochette, Jacques Lafayette, Edgar Leduc, Ed Milliner, and then this guy named Rocket Power, who's named James Power. Rocket Power. That's funny. So yeah, the Montreal Canadiens took part in it started in 1909. Now, of course, they have the honor of being the longest serving hockey team because the Toronto Maple Leafs weren't really the Toronto Maple Leafs. Toronto had a team in the NHA, but then it broke off with Eddie Livingstone. So the Leafs Club we all know and adore, some of us do, I guess, was founded in 1917. So thus they actually lost to Montreal by 7 years. And Montreal did win the cup in 1916 before Toronto ever did. So they have one couple being in the NHL and the other 23 as members of the NHL. So the Habs history is rich and all that. You know, the French Canadian stuff. English Canada was supposed to get an NHL team in 1917 with the Montreal Wanderers. They were 1-4, but then their arena burned down, and well, they shared the arena with the Habitants. And conveniently, the Habs were out of town playing someone else, and all their equipment was out of the rink when it burned down. So the Wanderers had to have their players dispersed to other teams and all of that. And Montreal was the only game in town for French Canada. But the Canadiens found themselves new opponents in 1924 when the Montreal Maroons got a franchise, basically for English Canadians. And heck, they started the Montreal Forum before the Habs did. They were the Montreal Forum's main tenants, not the Habs, when the Forum opened in 1924. But the Habs joined later. Of course, it'd be a giant rivalry between the Maroons and Canadiens, but the Maroons would lose a lot of money and would fold by 1938. The Habs also lost a lot of money. In fact, in 1921, they were close to being sold to Cleveland and all that. Or was it 1931? I can't remember. But anyway, thankfully, 3 former Habs players actually pulled together and bought the team and kept it in the NHL and kept it away from America. Montreal would go through one of the darkest periods from 1931 to 1944 without a cup and just sucking badly. It was the time of the Leafs and the Rangers and the Bruins and the Blackhawks and the Red Wings. And even the Maroons at times. But Montreal came out of it, getting French Canadian players like Rocket Richard, Jean Beliveau, Henri Richard, Toe Blake, Dickie Moore, Jacques Plante, Doug Harvey, Tom Johnson, a lot of players. So Montreal did well in the 40s and 50s with Bill Durden and then turning it over to Jacques Plante. And Montreal winning 5 cups from 1956 to 1960, all in a row. Rocket Richard retired on top after winning the 1960 trophy, and then Montreal just started over. 61, they had a chance to get back to the Cup final and try to go for 6 in a row, but sadly, though, Chicago beat them in the semifinals. Montreal would get the Cup back in 65, 66, 68, 69. So they had 4 cups in the 60s, not bad. And all that. Of course, the Leafs were dominating too. Montreal would then in the 70s put up some great numbers. I mean, Henri Richard retired after 71 season, but the 71 Cup was one of the most unlikely because they took down the Big Bad Bruins who were looking for their second straight Cup. And if Boston had won the 71 Cup, they would have had 3 in a row because they won in 72. But Montreal shocked them with that bleeping octopus, as Phil Esposito puts it. Ken Dryden winning in 7 games. Montreal went on a spree. They got Guy Lafleur with the first pick in 1971 thanks to Sam Pollock's shrewd trading to make sure that the Golden Seals gave him the first round pick in 71, and also by sending Ralph Backstrom to Los Angeles to make sure that the Kings were not worse than the Seals, which meant that LA would have had to pick later on. So yeah, Montreal took the pick. They got Guy Lafleur, Steve Shutt, the big 3 on defense. Guy Laplante, Larry Robinson, and Serge Savard. Ken Dryden in the net, the bleeping octopus as you call it, and Jacques Lemaire, Doug Riceborough, Mario Tremblay, Yvan Lambert as role players. Montreal rolled around. They shocked everyone by the late 70s, winning 4 straight cups before 1980 being shut down by the North Stars. And then, of course, Montreal had some weird periods, but unknown 51st overall pick in 1984 would lead Montreal to the promised land. Patrick Waugh in the 86 playoffs by them taking down Calgary. Montreal had some decent years, but they couldn't get over the playoff hump against Boston, sending Pat Burns to Toronto and putting up Jacques Demers' 93 Stanley Cup. Great time. The last Cup won by a Canadian team, pissing off a lot of Canadians like myself. But Montreal got to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2021 last year, somehow in some way getting all the way to the final. I mean, they took down Toronto, they took down Winnipeg, they even took down Vegas before Tampa was in their way. And when they're second straight. I mean, Montreal had some turmoil after the 93 Stanley Cup. It wasn't long before they were fat cats. Patrick Waugh played his way out of Montreal because he was mad at Mario Tremblay for not polling him until he gave up 9 goals to the Red Wings December 2nd, 1995. And, justice was served. Waugh won the Cup with Colorado. In 96, the Habs just faltered. The Habs were sold to an American in 2000 by the name of George Gillette. However, Gillette promised Montreal that he wasn't going to interfere, and the franchise would stay in Montreal. Thank God for that. Montreal had a few playoff runs, especially 2002 and 2010, but in the end, they didn't get to the Cup Finals. So anyway, so yes, the rest, you know, December 4th, 1909, the Canadiens club was formed, and the rest, as they say, is history. Anyway, I'm Jack Diamond. Adu.